Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bonsai's Forever. My name is Jay Borstel. I'm going to start this video out with, I don't celebrate Halloween. I don't celebrate the, trying to think of how to put this without, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't celebrate Halloween. I don't celebrate any of it. There is a bonsai challenge with Not Another Bonsai Channel with Gavin. He put the challenge out, and I wanted to be a part of it because he's my friend. But I just want to put it out there that I don't celebrate Halloween. I don't celebrate any of that stuff. So I'm not going to do a spooky or creepy or haunted type of video, but I do want to do something that I've kind of been wanting to do for a long time. I have a deer skull here. We buried the skull in the ground to get it clean, and forgot where it was at. Ran it over with the lawnmower. The antlers were sticking out just a little bit. So there you go. So I kind of messed up the antlers, but made it just perfect for what I want to do. So what I've got going here so far is I'm going to plant the tree on the skull. I want it to look like the skull was there, seed landed somewhere, started growing on the skull. So I've got a little tray right here that I cut out for the teeth so that it could sit kind of sideways, because the tree is going to be sitting over here. So I wanted the skull to sit kind of sideways, but I didn't want to use that whole space of soil to build up underneath the skull. So I'm thinking I might want to wire this piece in. I'm not going to be able to use this wire, it's too short, and this bowl is pretty flimsy too, so I'm gonna grab a couple of new. I'm not gonna drop that on the floor. That would not be good. I could just see that happening. Put the wires over there. I'll pick those up in a minute. This is annealed. That's why it doesn't look pretty. Put this aside for a second. So I have super glue on the skull because if you've never messed with a real skull, it's not all one piece. Some of the parts on the skull are really flimsy and thin, so if you don't glue them all together, then they just come apart and they break, and then you've got parts and pieces instead of a skull. So anyway, I've got that all super glued. It's still drying, so we'll make this work, but just so you know, that's why I'm being very careful touching it right now. It's not because it's gross or anything, just it's got wet super glue on it. So I'm going to cut this wire to fit through the bottom here of the pot, and I'll come back to you guys. So I got the wire through, and this screen had already been used, so it's already got little holes where the wires are supposed to go through, so that's what I'm working on now, getting those on there. The screen is a little dirty. It's not going to be a big deal. I'm not going to worry about that. Alright, so the screen was used differently than this direction, so it's okay. You can manipulate the screen. There we go. Got it in there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the skull placed in the pot here, and I'll see if I can show you the front of the skull. All these lines, those are all the different pieces, and it's really cool on the top here. I hope you guys can see that. I can just barely see it on the camera. It's a really small screen on this side, but so yeah, the skull is it's really cool. The teeth are pretty cool on a deer if you've never seen it. They don't have teeth on the top part of their jaw. This would be the top part of their jaw. Obviously, the teeth, no teeth there. They do have teeth on the bottom part of the jaw. Okay, so I want the skull to sit in the pot like it's in the ground a little bit, or like it's been where it's at for quite some time. So I'm gonna have it to where the nose is a little bit buried in the gravel, and then the backside back here will be in the gravel a little bit too. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the wire around. I'm just gonna go around the black part, or around the bowl here. So I've got the bowl where I want it, so I'm going to try and hold it where it was at, so I can get it to stay where it was at. Like that. Actually, I think I'm going to change what I was going to do. I'm going to put the wire off to one side. Instead of being in the middle like this one, I'm going to put it off to the side so that it's easier to get to if I need to. So, there we go. Just like that. And this will work just fine. I just wanted to take up some space in the pot instead of using up so much soil. So that's why I'm using the dish. Otherwise, I could have just built up a layer of soil in the bottom. So I thought about using a brick or a rock, but this plastic dish is not going to biodegrade in here. It's not going to go away. So using wood, I thought about using that as well, a piece of 2x4 or something, but that'll biodegrade over time. Should last quite a while, but this weighs like nothing. A piece of wood or a rock would weigh something, and this weighs nothing. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put the skull in here. Wire was right where the teeth are going to go. So like that. Just like that, I think. You can see some of this stuff is really flexible. That it moves. This should work just fine. And the skull should not just biodegrade really quickly either. It should last quite some time. I'm going to use a piece of wire hold this down. I think I'm going to. So I'm going to put a piece of wire through this wire down here. I'm going to use a piece of wire down here. I'm going to do it over here so I can actually make this happen. I don't think I need to twist it on here. I just need to bend it over it. It just needs to kind of hold it in place. There we go. And that'll be under the soil, or it should be under the soil down here, so I don't think we'll see that. There we go, just like that. Okay, so now that the skull is in the pot here, I'm gonna move the camera back just a little bit. Alright, so here's where it gets really cool. This is the tree that I'm gonna be using. And it's a red cedar. I really hope you can see all this. I've got stuff behind me, but I don't have a screen to go behind me yet. Should be here in the near future, but it still isn't here yet. So what I was thinking earlier, when I was actually going to repot this tree and just put it back into a different bonsai pot, and then I decided to try this because it looked pretty promising when I unpotted it, because this root, let me show you this root right here. This root right here, it goes straight down this way and then it just bends back this direction really hard. It's really cool. And you can't see anything because there's no light over here, that's why. There we go. Yeah, so now you can see it. See that root? It just bends really crazy. Just love it. And it's got dead wood right here on the top of it as well, which looks really cool. And then it's got this hole just like right there in the roots, that just goes right over this antler here. And then as I work the roots down onto the antler, it goes right over the part where it meets the base of the skull. And then I just bring the roots down into the pot, just like that. And this root just sits like right over the eye socket right there. And it just looks like this tree had fallen, or the seeds had fallen right here, and it just started growing right over the top of this. And then maybe as time went by, the soil started to erode around the skull here, and it exposed some of the roots here. So that's the story. I'm sticking to it. All right. And then I've got this piece over here that I did not intend on doing this, but I bent this branch a long time ago, and it kind of follows the contour of the other antler over here. So it worked out perfectly, and I didn't mean to do any of this. So it's pretty simple setup. I really don't need to do any like tying this on or anything, because it just sits there so perfectly. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just fill in around the outside of this pot. I'm going to use the larger bonsai soil for this. Fill in a lot of the larger spaces around the back side here. And just so you guys know, I did some work on this earlier because I wanted to not take up 10 hours of film time to figure out how to glue the skull and all that stuff, and creating the base and all that stuff. It's just, I mean, use what you got kind of for that kind of stuff. Use what you got. The gluing the skull, that is something that I learned from having other skulls. I've got quite a few different skulls. I've got a bear, I've got a cat, I've also got squirrels, I've got raccoons, I've got a prairie dog, and a lot of this stuff I found. It wasn't like I go out and just kill everything. The bear skull I found. The deer skulls that I have, I did hit a deer with my car last year, so I found it and I kept the skull, and I kept most of the meat. It was pretty jacked up, so I don't want to get graphic with you guys, but it was pretty jacked up, so I kept what I could so that I could feed the meat to my monitor lizards, because I couldn't eat it. It was messed up. So anyway, let me think, what else do I got? I got a couple of different birds. A couple of shark jaws. I actually did catch a pretty nice shark last year, so I kept the jaws. It's kind of a hobby of mine. So I'm going to fill in around the roots now. It's actually going to be the hardest part, because these roots are very dense, which is good. It's very good. Having really dense roots for something like this is good. I've had this tree for a couple of years. Actually, I was growing it in a... Let me show you what I was growing it in. I was growing it in this pot. Pretty cool little pot. I got it at Walmart, cheap pot, but that's why the roots are shaped the way they are. I think just worked out perfectly. I'm really just hoping that I've got enough roots in the soil over here. I want to show you guys what I'm doing, but I also want to be able to do the work here. So here we go. I'm gonna try and push the roots in here a little bit so I can get some soil on the outside of them. so that the roots will hug the skull here. I said I wasn't going to need to tie it down, and I hope that I don't still. Maybe I will. Actually, I think I will. I'm going to use a small piece of wire here, and this piece of deadwood, this right here on the side. I'm just going to take the piece of wire and wrap it around the antler and that piece of deadwood there. That should hold it where I need it. As long as I don't break the deadwood off while I'm tightening this down. How fun would that be, right? And then as it develops and the roots start taking hold, then I'll take this off. I may or may not have to shorten this branch later if this damages it, but that should hold it pretty well. And from the side here, you can't really see the wire that well either, so that's good. Chopstick. Alright, now keep working the soil down in here. I want to try and work the soil into the roots. I completely bare rooted it because it had a lot of very large soil particles. So, doing something like this kind of just goes to show you can do pretty much anything with bonsai. Bonsai is, I always try to define bonsai as the art of keeping a tree in miniature, right? You want it to look, I want it to look natural. I want a tree to look pretty natural. It doesn't always have to look exactly like it would in nature, in my opinion. I mean, I think in most people's opinion it doesn't have to, but I like to try to keep most of them looking as close to they would in nature as possible, just because that's what I like. Almost out of soil. I'm gonna have to mix some more here later. Should have enough to finish this. I know most of the time you don't repot junipers or cedars during the fall or winter. I do have a greenhouse, and it is, honestly, it's still about 80 degrees here during the day, and then it gets cooler at night. So I think right now is actually a really good time of year for this project, because it's warm enough during the day for the tree to recover from this, and it's cool enough at night for it to not be overheated and allow the roots to recover and establish in this pot. Okay, so I think that's good for the soil. Alright, so the next thing I want to do with this, because these roots are normally in soil, they're used to being in soil. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use some sphagnum moss. The sphagnum moss is dry, so I'm going to have to get it wet, and then I will come back to you guys. Alright, so I got a pot that doesn't have any holes in it. Put some water in it. Put the sphagnum moss in here. You want to let it soak for a little while, kind of break it up a little bit. when you get fresh sphagnum moss, it's really a long type of moss. Like each fiber is like really long, so kind of break it up a little bit. There's sometimes pieces of grass and other stuff in there. I like to take that out when I'm in this process. You can kind of feel them because they're stiffer than the moss is. I put that in the compost, and then big chunks of like grass and stuff, I take those out as well. Alright, so now that this is moistened, I'm going to scoot this over just a little bit. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the moss, still chunks in it, and then I'm going to put it around the roots that are still sticking out here. I'm going to put it on kind of thick, work it into the roots just a little bit so I can cover them up so that they can stay moist. And sphagnum moss will dry out, so it's not going to rot the roots that are sticking out here. It'll just keep them moist, and then as it dries out, then I'll water it so that it'll stay moist, like the roots are still in the soil. Also, sphagnum moss has a part to it, I don't know the exact term, that actually promotes root growth. So having the moss on here will help promote more root growth and make this take better. And it can be sopping wet when you put it on. It doesn't have to be wrung out or dried or anything. I'm just kind of just throwing it on here. I'm going to do the whole base of this, and I'll keep this on here for a while until I notice the tree is starting to put on new growth, and that might be next spring. It might be later on this fall. You never know. So I'll just keep it on here until I get some new growth on this tree, and then once we get some new growth, then we'll go ahead and remove the moss, and the roots that are going down into the soil should be established in the soil, and sky's the limit from there. So that looks pretty good. Make sure I've got it all the way around the roots here. There we go. Sweet. Alright. So the only thing left to do on this tree, because the tree doesn't need styled, I did that a while back, and I took off the wire a couple of months ago, I think, and I was doing some trimming on the tree when I decided that I was going to repot it, and I was like, wait, this would be perfect for the skull planting, because I've been wanting to do this for a while now. So yeah, so there you have it. I think it looks pretty good. The only other thing that we do to make this look better would be to fill the rest of this in with sand, so that it would look more natural, like it's in the desert or up in the mountains. Or maybe I can put some rocks and stuff on here to make it look like it's out in the mountains. Actually, I'm trying to think if I have any rocks right close that I can do this with. I think I do. Got a couple of pieces of rock here. Yeah, that's a pretty cool rock. Stick it over here on the side. Got some pretty cool rocks that I found in the river back in Colorado. Oh yeah, I really like this one. Okay, so this is another one that I got at the river in Colorado, or a creek. I really like this one. It's a cool rock. It fits almost perfectly, sitting right here. like that. I'm gonna do this one. And right there. Yeah, I like that. I really like that. And as time goes by, this will get moss on it and stuff too, and that'll kind of help. Maybe I'll keep a little bit of moss in different places. And all right, so I actually grabbed a piece of moss. I think I want to see what this looks like. Maybe I'll put a little bit of moss over on this side here. I don't know, just add a little bit more color to it. I don't know if that's absolutely necessary. I'm just looking at it and thinking that it's just not enough. The tree is really cool. I am loving that tree. That's perfect. That's so perfect. It's like, yeah, it's amazing. I'm so thankful for this. But it just looks like it's missing something. I think I have something that will make this good. I think I have something. I think I only have two. Maybe I sold one. So I've got this piece, and I've got one of these. Not all of it. I'm not going to do all of it because they're, as you can see, they're in a couple of individual pieces. So I'm gonna post a video and pick either one or red or two or black. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. So I'll post the video and then I'll go back and do a part 2 where I put a cactus in here because I think that would be really cool. So it would be just one of these. I'd probably put it over here. If you can see that. Oh, sorry. So it'd be just one of these and I'd put it on this side. Or it would be this guy. It would go right here as well. So let me know what y'all think. And I'll go ahead and end the video here because I'm at a stopping point. Let me know what y'all think. And thanks for watching. And thanks for all your support. Please leave a comment so I can know which cactus y'all think is good. Anyway, thanks for watching. And I'll see you on the next one.